Now let's talk about wireless. Okay. What happened? Need a break? Okay. So wireless. Now your wireless works on the basis of radio frequency. Okay. The wireless works on the basis of radio frequency. That means we don't have wires. So that means how the communication will happen using radio waves. So RF refers to the radio waves over which your wireless communication happens. Okay. And your Wi-Fi uses RF signals to transmit data through the. So we have to understand the RF, and it is the key to troubleshooting wireless network, as the interference, range, and materials can affect the signal strength and quality. Okay. So you might have noticed that, if you have a Wi-Fi router and if you put it near the microwave oven or printers, then in that case, your range will get affected and your speed will also get affected. Okay. So there is something called as SSID. SSID stands for Service Site Identifier. So what is this SSID? SSID is basically, you can understand the name of your Wi-Fi. In your device, in your mobile phones, when you want to connect to the Wi-Fi, let's say, even if I want to connect to the Wi-Fi, what I will do, I will open my Wi-Fi adapter and I will see the names that to which name I want to connect, right? So what is that name? That name is the SSID, Service Site Identifier. That because that is used to identify my wireless network, right? So SSID is the name of a wireless network, and when you're connecting to Wi-Fi, the name you see is the SSID. So it is broadcasted by your access point so that the devices can discover and connect to the network. Okay. So SSIDs can be hidden for security reasons, requiring the users to know the SSID in advance to connect. Now, this is one of the security that you can use in your home networks also. That if you want that nobody should be able to connect to your wireless network, so what you can do, you can just hide the SSID. You can stop broadcasting the SSID. And what will happen? Now, if you want to connect to the wireless network, first of all, you have to know the correct name of your Wi-Fi. And then after, you need to know the correct password of your Wi-Fi. And then only you'll be able to connect. So as a security, you can use it. Clear? Then your Wi-Fi, normally we see that it operates at 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz frequency. 2.4G and 5G, we say call it. Sometimes you call it 4G and 5G, right? So now we have 6G also. 6 gigahertz frequency is also unlocked. So your Wi-Fi operates generally on the 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz frequencies, and those frequencies, they are divided into channels. Okay, that means different ranges. So 2.4 gigahertz, it offers total 14 channels, but out of them only 1, 6, and 11. These are the 3 channels that are non-overlapping. That means whose signals are not interfering. These are the only 3 channels whose signals do not interfere with each other. Okay. So if they will not interfere, they will not cause interference also. That means you will not have problems or issues related to, you can say, issues are related to speed issues, connection issues, range issues, these kind of things you will not have. Okay. Your 5 gigahertz, it offers more number of non-overlapping channels. Here in the 2.4 gigahertz, we have only 3 channels, but in 5 gigahertz, there are more number of non-overlapping channels. Okay. And they reduce the interference and improve performance. So non-overlapping channels, they are essential for designing your Wi-Fi networks in the crowded areas to ensure stable and interference-free connections. Okay. So you can take as an example, let's say, if there is a Wi-Fi access point in the neighboring classroom, in our classroom, then in that classroom also, in the lab also, right? So what will happen? All will be broadcasting by default at the same channel, and that will cause interference. And we all will face what? Internet issues. Okay. So it is very necessary to make sure that, your Wi-Fi is set up at different channels. Clear? Okay. Now, what are the components of your wireless network? So there are components like access point, WLC, access ports and trunk ports. I think this thing we have already discussed in the switch. What are access ports? What are trunk ports? Link aggregation. This is ether channel concept. Okay, combines multiple network connections into parallel to increase the throughput and provide redundancy. So these two concepts you already know, right? And even these two things I have discussed in the day two of, not day two, day one of our session. Remember the devices Cisco manufactures, routers, switches, firewalls, right? Then we had IP phones, then we have access points and wireless controllers. That time I gave you the introduction to all these devices, right? So access points, these are used to connect wirelessly to devices and wire to the. So your access point will connect with the help of a cable to your switch, and then it will broadcast a wireless signal. And your wireless LAN controller, this is the centralized management for your access points that are connected to the network infrastructure. Remember the example I gave you that you have 30, 40 access points, and individually you have to go and configure everything, right? So with the help of WLC, everything can be configured in one time, okay? And from the centralized place. So what is an access point? A wireless access point is a network device that allows wireless capable devices to connect to a wired network. So this is your wired network here you can see. And if you want to connect your wireless devices to this network, then you will need what? A wireless access point. So it is simpler and easier to install wireless access points to connect all the computers or devices in the network than to use wires and cables. Okay. So it is easier to add devices in the wireless network. Let's say, for example, you have, let's not talk about the enterprise. Let's talk about the home networks. Okay. So in your home network, you have a Wi-Fi router at your home, correct? But imagine that, there are 10 guests coming to your home and they also want to use the network, but you don't have the wireless option. You don't have the wireless option and they also want to use your internet. Now, what you need to do if you don't have the wireless, only wired network is there. You need to give them cables. If you don't have a wireless network at your home and there are 10 members at your home and all of them wants to connect to the network, you need what? 10 cables. Now there will be issues. Why? To use the network you all have to sit at the same place. What if I want to walk to the other room? First of all, I need a bigger cable, and if I take a bigger cable, again handling the cable itself becomes a complex task. Same thing is there in the organization also. Okay, these days, in the organization there are let's say for example, multiple different departments. Okay, and let's say a person from the sales department wants to go from one department to another department. Let's say they want to go from their office to their boss, and they want to show some presentation or they want to discuss something like that. So will they be carrying the wire all the way? No, right? With the help of wireless, it becomes very easy. So even if you would think it as a scenario that let's say you have to connect 20 devices. So one way is you will connect 20 devices in a wired network. So you will need 20 cables, and you have to think of everything, the space also, because see, if you are connecting 20 cables to the switch, then the cable will have limited length. The cable will have limited length. So that means you have to think of the place to keep all the 20 systems in that particular area only. And then you have to think about cable management and all. But with the help of wireless, what happens? You just tell them the password. Now it doesn't matter where they sit, right? They can sit on the table, they can sit on the sofa, anywhere they want, they can sit and they can do their work, right? So an access point is a device that creates a wireless local area network, or in short, we call it as a WLAN, usually in an office or large building or even in the home networks as well. So an access point connects to a wired router, switch, hub via Ethernet cable. So access point will connect to the network via cable, and then it will broadcast a wireless signal in a specific area. Okay. And the area, okay, the area where the wireless signal will be broadcasted, that area will be known as basic service area. Okay, basic service area, or you call it as a basic service set. So what are the advantages of your wireless access point? So when you have both your employees as well as guests connecting to with desktop, laptop, and mobile phones and tablets, 20 devices on a wireless network will add up quickly, but they will not add up quickly in a wired network. So this is only one of the advantage of using these network enhancers. But if you see, business grade access points can be installed anywhere you can run a Ethernet cable. Okay, because nowadays these access points, these are coming equipped with the PoE concept. That means power over Ethernet. Means what? Let's say if you want to install an access point, so there are the two things you are going to require normally. One is a cable to give internet to the access point, and second is a power cable to power the access point. But these days, your access points, they are coming equipped with the power over Ethernet concept. That means what? Through the Ethernet cable itself, they will take the power also. That means you don't need to think of where to put the plug. Okay. They will take the power from the switch itself. Is that clear? So there is no need to run a separate power line or install an outlet near the access point. Okay. Now, additional features, they include captive portal and access control list support. So you can limit guest access without compromising network security, as well as easily manage users within your Wi-Fi network. Now, what does it mean? It means, see, your access points, they provide you with certain security features. You can perform IP filtering, you can perform web filtering, you can perform MAC filtering. Okay. So that means you can limit the guest access without compromising the network security. Okay. And there are two types of access points we have. Okay. One is the autonomous access point and second is controller based, or they are also known as lightweight. Okay. So autonomous access points, these are the access points, these are managed individually. That means their entire configuration you have to do inside the autonomous AP itself. While lightweight AP or controller based AP, these are the APs that are managed by the WLC, wireless LAN controller. So in the organizations, generally we go with the WLC. I mean, with the lightweight access points. Okay. Lightweight access point, they do not have their own configuration. They depend on the WLC for their configuration. So that means as soon as they will power up and they will get an IP address, they will start looking for WLC. And as soon as they find the WLC, they will take the configuration and start broadcasting the wireless signal. Clear? Okay. So what is a WLC? So again, the introduction of WLC also I had already given. So let's go through it again. Your WLC is a centralized device in the network, which is used in combination with the lightweight access point protocol to manage your lightweight access points in large quantities by the network admin or network operation center. Okay. So in your organization, if you have large number of, access points, so you can manage all of them with the help of a WLC, and you can manage them centrally from one single place. Okay. So your autonomous access points, they are also known as freight access points. So these access points on the network are managed, operated, and configured independently. But your lightweight access points, their configuration, the WLC will automatically handle the configuration of the lightweight access points. So when building you have one WLC. No, you can keep centralized also. Okay. So because of the centralized position and brain power, the WLC is aware of your wireless LAN environment, as well as it provides services that can lower the price of deployment, ease of management, and provide several layers of security. Okay. So your WLC is, highly secure device. In your, yes. Hmm? If an organization can afford. Expensive. All the devices. Enterprise devices are expensive only. This is how a WLC looks like. According to the shape, what will happen? All of them will routers, which is almost they will have the same shape. Okay. Now, what are the benefits of a WLC? So first thing, it is secure, provides so many security features. You can, configure security, like you can combine AAA concept there. Okay. You can configure passwords in there. Okay. Then even you can implement quality of service feature in the WLC. So all these things can be done. You can segregate the wireless, the devices that are the clients that are connecting to the wireless. So it can segregate them into different VLAN also. Okay, so all these things can be done by the WLC. Second thing, it is centralized. So from a single place, you can, manage and maintain your entire network. Okay. And it is simple. So having WLC will help you administer and supervise your access point in a centralized hub. So from a centralized place, you can manage your entire wireless network. Okay. And you have complete transparency about your network, that, to which access point, how many devices are connected. Okay. How long they have been connected, what is the IP address, MAC address, all these things will be there in the WLC. Yeah. Now, how you can manage your access points and WLC? So you can use protocols like Telnet SSH for CLI access. Okay. You can use HTTP, HTTPS for remote access, but graphical GUI access, or you can say web access. And you can take a console. So initially, for the first time when you purchase a WLC, you will be using the console to perform the basic configuration. After that, you can manage it via HTTP or HTTPS. Clear? Then you can use TACX plus Radius. So for centralized AAA concept, authentication, authorization, and accounting, you can use the TACX and Radius. That means you can implement the security also. Is that clear? So here we will be seeing, Telnet SSH in case of routers you have already seen. Here we will see about the HTTP access, web access I will show you. Is that clear? Now, Wi-Fi security protocols. Okay. So there are total 4 Wi-Fi security protocols: WEP, WPA, WPA2, and WPA3. Okay. So your WEP was the first Wi-Fi security protocol that was implemented and approved in 1999. So your WEP, it was initially expected to deliver the same security level as wireless network. Before implementing this WEP, the wireless networks used to be open. Open means what? Anybody could connect to them, okay, and use the network. But I think there was some, it was, because of open Wi-Fi networks, it was used by the terrorists to create some sort of blast. Okay, it was used to remotely detonate a bomb. It was used. After that, Wi-Fi security became highly important. Okay, and the first Wi-Fi security protocol that came up was WEP. So it was initially expected to deliver the same security level as the wired network. That means what? In wired, what happens? Someone who is connecting to the switch will only be able to use the network. And same way, in WEP, it was implemented that someone who knows the correct password will only be able to connect to the network. Okay. So secondary function of WEP is said to be prevent unauthorized access. So if someone doesn't know the password, they will not be able to access. However, it has been found that WEP is not as secure as desired. And to be frank, this is not at all secure. A WEP secured network can be cracked. The WEP passwords can be cracked in less than a minute. Okay. So WEP is used at the 2 lowest layer of the OSI model, the data link layer and the physical layer. So it does not offer end-to-end security. Okay. Nevertheless, at that time, cryptography technology was restricted and the Wi-Fi devices were limited to 64-bit encryption. Okay. And for encryption in your WEP, the protocol that was being used was RC4. Okay, this was the protocol being used. And RC4 protocol is secure, no doubt. It is an encryption protocol. And definitely, as it was 64 bits, so the encryption bits were a bit lower. Okay. But the implementation of RC4 in the WEP was not proper. That means what? Your RC4 on, they were creating something called as, we call them IVs. Okay. The packets that these Wi-Fi security protocols, they exchange, we call them IVs, initialization vectors. So in these vectors, what they were doing, they were including the passwords. Okay. So there was the password and there was a fixed string. There was a password and there was a fixed string. So they were including like password and there was a, you can say, string. So according to 64-bit, only possible number of combination is what? 2 raised to power 64. That is small combination only, right? So what happened? That, the attackers, they will capture these IVs and they will analyze them. And at a later point of time, what will happen? See, after the exhaustion of this, they will start repeating the IV in the IVs. This number will start repeating. So attackers used to see this number, that okay, this number is repeating. That means this number they will remove and they will get what? Password. Now this is not something they will do manually, they will be using tools for it. Okay, but it is not really secure. It can be cracked within 1 minute. Is that clear? So huh? No. What do you mean normal Wi-Fi? The encryption in the WEP, initially it was 64-bit, but later on it was increased to 128-bit. But still it is not secure. Okay. So even though the limitation was broken though and increased to 128-bit, there was also so many security issues that made WEP keys easy to crack. Okay. So WEP was a highly vulnerable Wi-Fi security protocols and it was finally replaced by WPA. So it came up in 1999 and the next protocol that came up was in 2003. That means for 4 years, the Wi-Fi networks were completely vulnerable. Okay. We are using right now WPA2 and majorly in the organizations, WPA3 is implemented. Home networks, generally we are using WPA2. By default, the routers are supported. Okay. So WPA, it was temporary enhancement for WEP. That means in the WEP, the encryption was increased to what? 128. Here the encryption was increased to 256. So this was definitely an increase according to 128, but again, it was having vulnerabilities. Okay. And there was one thing that was implemented in the WPA that was not there in the WEP. That was they created two modes. One is WPA personal and WPA enterprise. So this personal, we generally use it in the home networks, and this is generally we used in the organizations. So in the WPA personal, what will happen that you will just be asked for passwords. Okay. While in the WPA enterprise, what you need to have? You need to have AAA. That means you need to have a AAA server like Radius or TechX server. You must have. Without that, WPA enterprise cannot be implemented. So whenever you want to connect to network that is WPA personal protected, then when you click on the Wi-Fi name, it will just ask you for password. But in the enterprise, if you are going with the WPA enterprise security method, then what will happen? It will first of all ask you for username, then it will ask you for password. That means individual user access will be there. Is it clear? Okay. So, WPA enterprise, WPA personal is common method used to secure wireless networks, and it is suitable for most home networks, while your WPA enterprise provides the security needed for the wireless networks in the business environment where the Radius server is deployed. Not just this, for all the centralized authentication. Main reason for AAA or Radius is what? Authentication. Okay. Then WPA2. So it was a temporary enhancement, came up in 2003, and in the year 2004, WPA2 came up. And this has a larger improvement. Okay. Why? Because the encryption algorithm was changed and it was changed to what? AES, Advanced Encryption Standard. Okay. So this AES, it provides higher security and performance as compared to your RC4. Is that clear?
Sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir. What is exactly the Radius server?
Radius server, it is a role in the AD. If you have, Windows server, and you can configure other servers also, but let's say Windows server, so you can configure a role in the AD. Okay. So for that, the protocol that is used is the Radius. Okay. Radius stands for Remote Access Dial-in User Services. Okay. So it is configured in there. So what will happen? Let's say, for example, this is your switch. To this switch, one, let's say this is AD, and here you have configured AAA. Okay. Then with this, you have connected a wireless access point. Now, whenever a user will try to connect, so first of all, this wireless access point will prompt for username and password. Okay. Now what will happen? This username and password will be directly sent to the AD for verification. This AD will verify whether the username password is correct or not. If they are correct, then it will say that yes, you can provide the access, and then after it will be providing the access. So that means authentication will not be done by this access point. It will be done by the AD centrally. Is that clear? So for the communication, the protocol that they are using is what? Radius. Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Now, even in WPA2 that we are currently using in our home networks, there is a vulnerability. Even this can be cracked. Okay. But there is only, limited attacks like, dictionary attacks, or you can say brute force attack, to which your WPA2 is vulnerable. Okay. Otherwise, it is not vulnerable. So there is still a vulnerability that brings security problems because a hacker can get access to a secure WPA2 network and get access to certain keys to attack other devices on the same network. So once they are in the network, they can attack all other devices. So there is one vulnerability, and that is because of the dictionary or brute force attack. So it is a security issue that matters for the enterprises instead for home network users. So this is not a big issue for the home networks. This is an issue for the enterprises. And that's why in the enterprises, WPA3 is being used. Okay. So WPA2 came up in 2004, and you can see WPA3 came up in 2018. So for 14 years. And right now, even in the 2024, you can see WPA2 is being used. Right? Why? Because there are a number of devices that are not even supporting WPA3 protocol. So they have to go with the WPA2 one. Clear? So no, because WPA3 is still performing good. So with the aim to simplify, and you can see what is the name, next gen Wi-Fi security. So with the aim to simplify Wi-Fi security and enable more robust authentication and deliver increased cryptographic strength for highly sensitive data markets, the WP3 has been proposed by the Wi-Fi Alliance in 2018. So the advent of your WP3 remedies the protection against the flaws in the WPA2. So whatever the flaws were there, dictionary and brute force, they have been overcome in the WPA3. So for public networks like coffee shops, hotels, WPA3 has a really good security because it will automatically encrypt the connection without any need for credentials. So it will not require any username password. It will directly encrypt entire traffic. Okay. Is that clear? Now, even WP3 is not secure. Okay. Because in the security, we have a statement, security is a myth. Okay. So 100% security is not possible. You might have seen Dettol advertisement. What Dettol says? That means still problem is there. That one germ will still left, right?